Hello, hello. Welcome to How to Draw a Sunflower. This programming is brought to you by Chestnut Creek School of the Arts and partially funded by the Twin County Community Grant Foundation. So thank you for joining us. This class is by donation. So if you love it, please visit our website at www.chestnutcreekarts.org/donate, or you can give us a phone call. Just Google Chestnut Creek School of the Arts and you'll get our phone number. All right, so you all are I recommend, if you're new to drawing, to go back and watch my video on YouTube about value, which is just basic drawing skills, which is value scale and how to apply shading to make things look 3D, just to get started. Today we're going to be doing the sunflower, so we're going to kind of start off with a nice big circle for our center. This is going to be a fairly simple but fun drawing. Okay, and I kind of liked having it a little bit rough just to kind of give it that organic shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw kind of some starting off points with petals. So I'm going to draw a nice long one, and you can kind of see I'm not holding my pencil super tight. I'm kind of holding it back to get started, and it's pretty sketchy. So I'm going to keep drawing, and if I need to adjust the shape of anything. So I'm going through now. I'm not trying to keep all these petals the same shape. This one's going to come up and kind of go a different direction. And it can be not perfectly drawn. I might have some extra layers in here. Make them go a different way. So we're going to have this one. It's going to almost overlap. It's going to have like a little bend in it. And it looks kind of funky right now. It looks like a bunch of weird fingers growing out of the middle there, and that's okay. Sometimes drawings just go through little ugly stages while you're blocking them out, and don't give up. That's key. I think a lot of my students, especially younger students, they kind of look at it when it's not even close to being done and want to give up because it doesn't seem perfect or it doesn't look like mine exactly. And I just encourage you not to give up so quickly, because you will. Actually, I'm going to kind of go with that little oopsie there. Keep it. And so there's going to be a little bit of foreshortening as these petals kind of come up, and I'm just going to kind of block some in here. So this one's going to have, as they get closer to you, this is kind of the back of the flower, and then we're going to have some coming towards us. So we're trying to work on that shape to capture that, and that's all in the drawing. So if you did my peony workshop, which is, I don't have that one recorded. I plan on eventually doing that as a recording. I just haven't had time to do that yet, but we will. But if you took it live, we kind of did it one petal at a time. This is a little bit different because I kind of want to make sure I have it all drawn out before I start. So this is going to be a short little petal right here because it's kind of coming towards us. And same with this one. And it kind of, in the drawing, it's definitely going to look weird because as we shade it, we'll understand a little bit more of why it's looking like that. Okay, so here I go. I'm just going to add some layers. Because it's coming towards us, we're going to see a lot more petals kind of on the foreground of this, because all the other petals are more hidden in the back, I think. So here we go. We're just going to kind of have some sticking out here and there, some different layers. They can kind of get pretty big here. Might even add just a little bit of texture just so I kind of get the idea in case I do forget how it's coming along here. All right, so we're almost to the drawing part of it. I feel like I need another one in here. You could always add more later. Like this needs another layer. Okay, so to start with the shading on this, I'm going to kind of start with this back one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, not really evenly, but I'm going to go around the edges with probably like a 3 or 4 value if you're looking at a value scale. And maybe with touches of 5 kind of behind the flower. So I'm adding some stripes. That's more of a texture drawing line rather than a value. And I'm just kind of going with the edge of the petal. Okay, and since this is one that's really in the foreground, I don't want it to be, or I say foreground, in the front of this, I'm going to have a darker around the base. But the actual highlight of the petal doesn't need to be super dark. Whereas if I'm doing a back one, you can just kind of have the base go ahead and be pretty dark. You don't need any paper showing. So you can start with that full 1 value, and then you can, because that's kind of coming behind. So we got our first 2 petals done. This is going to also be a little bit darker. And sometimes I just like to go ahead and capture that shadow area and then build off of that. So if you think about petals as kind of being a round shape, that helps you with kind of knowing, okay, well, around the edges is going to be a little bit darker where it curves. Even if they're, you know, petals are relatively flat, but there is a 3D characteristic to them that you don't want to ignore. Even if it's very subtle, that subtleness will capture value. Okay, so here's this one, and if you've got to sharpen your pencil, you're welcome to anytime. I'm not quite there yet, and actually I kind of have just a bunch of pencils here that I'll probably just trade out. So I almost do like a little sketchy, this one kind of comes over. Sometimes you got to do multiple petals at once to know, okay, which one's going to overlap versus which one is going to try to be underneath. The underneath ones are always going to have a little bit of a darker value, at least right on that edge. So this one, you can make these lines in there darker after the fact. So this one's going to kind of have a little bend in it. And just add, so I am trying to kind of go with the value as I go, okay? Or with the petals, building it up as I go. Okay. So sometimes I just like to have a little more texture in them. That almost looks like the shadow off of that leaf. Or petal, not leaf, petal. Maybe even add a little more value down here. So if you get a little bit too bright or something, you can always, or too dark, you can always use your eraser to even add in some highlights. Sometimes the bold line here and there is good. So I'm just trying to capture a nice... Sometimes you'll see I kind of turn my pencil the other way to shade, and that's more of a textural shading, just to give it some visual interest. So this is a pretty sketchy flower, which is great. You can kind of start to see it coming along. If we need to, we can always smooth some of the shading out too. All right, so I'm going along here. Is that one going to be, I forget if this one's, I think that one's ahead. I'm looking kind of at it and trying to decide how I want this one to be viewed. So we're getting there. We're just kind of taking it one petal at a time. I always try to keep down towards the base a little bit darker, just because that's where it's curving in. And in fact, we can kind of even start adding a little bit of value if your hand needs a break from the... Now the center is going to be pretty textural, so I'm just going to kind of loosely, I'm just kind of almost scribbling. I'm kind of just zigzagging my pencil. I'm trying to avoid the petals, but I'm capturing, you know, I'm almost looking at this like a sphere, just that your lightest value is going to be more like right here. Can even block that out because this is going to be pretty dark. We're all said and done. I might even have to switch pencils for a minute here. So I'm just, and I'm kind of, the reason why I'm kind of going in little circles here is because I'm trying to capture the sense that this is the center of a sunflower, which is very seedy, right? So I'm just going with that texture, whereas it's going to be in contrast with these smooth petals. So just nice and smooth. These ones in the back, it's just good to have a little, some more simple. Ooh, I have one over here I missed. Can always go back and redefine edges. All right, so going to have some, this is going to be pretty light here. This one, but sunflowers are really neat. I might go ahead and start kind of defining this little petal here. And if you have like a darker, if you have like drawing pencils and you have like an H, or not an HB, this is a 2HB pencil, like a 6B pencil, which is like a really dark graphite, you know, that might be a good choice to use in the center of your flower, just to really create a different kind of contrast. So here I'm going, just trying to capture the sunflower. And I'm trying not to drag my hand over things I've done. If you've got to turn your paper to do it, now I'm trying to go pretty dark here because this petal is pretty far in the back. But the overall feel of these should be kind of the same. So whenever I need like a little break from focusing, I'm just layering on more color of this, and I think that that can really help get rid of some fatigue. So I'm trying to also redefine these petals a little bit. All right. I feel like this actually needs to be drawn a little better. Sometimes it just takes like a few touches of pencil to get that definition that you need, or the hint of a petal, or you know, to not all the petals need the exact same kind of attention. It's good if you kind of have ones that are a little less detailed or focused on, and ones that have a little more attention to them. So as I'm going on with this, I'm getting more comfortable with drawing it, and that helps me go a little bit faster. Obviously, if you guys are new at this, just press pause. You can take this at your own pace. That's part of the reason why I really like, it's almost like a funky shadow under here. Doing the pre-recorded is, you can take this at your own pace. You don't have to feel like you're holding up anyone. Of course, if you have questions, feel free to comment or message us or email us. info@chestnutcreekarts.org comes to me, and I am happy to kind of help. So we're about halfway done now, which is awesome. I'm getting excited. I feel like that's a really cool look so far. But you can see, I mean, it definitely has its moments of kind of almost being like, what in the world am I drawing? So, and you know, I'm doing just computer paper right now, and these Ticonderoga, I say them wrong all the time, pencils. So it's really not a big deal if you mess up, just to start over. And actually, I really need to get a sharper pencil, I think, which I usually have like tons of these in here. And of course, but yeah, sometimes if your pencil just is starting to feel weird, just change it out for a second here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's a nice funky. So some of these that are a little bit closer up might need some lighter values. A little more careful, thought out. And again, like, you can lighten it up if you need to. So right here, I'm kind of doing a 4 value underneath the petals that are over it, and then I'm going back right on the edge to add that 5 value and kind of fade it with like a 4.5 to the outer edges to give it a nice 3D feel. And then over here, I'm kind of fading that 4 to a 3, maybe even a 2, maybe a little edge over here just to kind of give it some definition. Can even come back and add that to. And by kind of fading that out, you can just create a nice effect. I like that. I think I'm gonna even come back in here. You know, you kind of want to balance it out. So if something's looking too dark an area and you need to go back and lighten it up, or too light and you want to go back and darken it up. I think I said that wrong. I kind of lost my train of thought as I was in the middle of saying that. You know, don't be afraid to go back and make adjustments to things you've already done. If something doesn't feel right, there's a reason. So I'm going to keep adding to this. And this is getting a little bit shiny, and I'm kind of okay with that because I think that's adding a lot to the sunflowers, having those little textural shades in there. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just giving it the idea. Okay, so now this pretty little petal, so it can be like a little bit softer in areas. But pretty much I'm just trying to find areas that, you know, you don't want it to all look necessarily the same, but you don't want it to be so different that it doesn't look like it's together. So I'm trying to find places where I can go darker and lighter to show the shifts in value, but also, you know, and potentially, like if this were to have color in it, you know, you can look at a drawing of a sunflower and just envision the bright yellows of it, which is just kind of a neat concept to think about. Kind of add some little lines after the fact just to give it some more texture. All right, so I'm going to kind of rotate this a little bit as I'm going around so I don't totally smear it. Again, just trying to build this up. Lots of texture. It's going to be a little bit darker. And the end is going to be pretty light because it kind of made its way out into the sun. So, with these sunflowers, you know, you could get super smooth. Like, for example, you know, if you wanted to really kind of smooth out the value on this, you could just build it up a lot like how we did our value scale. You know, kind of do the light and the dark. But I find that kind of doing the sketchy thing just gives it a little bit of a visual interest, that, and it's a little more forgiving, honestly. To have kind of more of a streaky set of values that don't have to transition perfectly. It's a little more forgiving to do it this way. So if you are participating in this and you want to share your samples, I would love to see them. You can email me. Again, that's at info@chestnutcreekarts.org. Just send me a JPEG of your picture. It doesn't have to be high quality. And I can give feedback or praises or whatever you request. If you just want me to check it out or share with me, that's fine too. I love that. It's part of the fun of teaching. Okay, so I'm gonna try to get a little more value here. So as you can see, my hand is getting quite smeared. So what I could do is take a piece of paper and lay over it for this last little bit. That would be smart. And I only have a few more petals left, which is, you know, pretty cool. You can draw a whole sunflower in about 30 minutes if you know a little bit about value. This one, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of blanket a value over it because it is in the further back. This will help me. But I'm always kind of looking at the relationships of the other flower, you know, flower petals around it. So you can kind of decide, okay, yeah, I need to... That pencil's kind of giving out on me. I think I need to go back to my original. Sometimes you just wear down your tip a funky way, or it doesn't work for that moment in your picture. So don't be afraid to kind of, if something feels funky, to try another pencil or another hold or anything like that. So there you go. There you have it. And overall, it's looking really cool, huh? I mean, it looks a lot better now that we've shaded it in and added the detail. I might go in and just kind of define some kind of curvy connection points to the stem, just to kind of define it a little bit more. I'm getting a little bit shiny. It's hard to avoid that. It's just good to know. Try not to do it in your main part. That got a little bit excited. So I might even redefine some of this. Like if you have some points that kind of got out of control or got lost in the picture, you can go through and bring them back to life. I smeared a little bit up here, so I could always clean that up. But when you're all done, give yourself a little signature initials or something like that just for fun. And voila, congratulations, you've done a sunflower starflower. So I hope you guys had fun with this tutorial. I know it was fun for me, and I hope you guys will come back for more. Have a great day.